We have a massive New York Rangers trade update to go over today, as we have the latest update on the JJ Peterka trade front. We also have another update on what the Rangers are planning to do with Chris Kreider, as well as some other moves that Chris Drury is looking to make ahead of today's 3 p.m. deadline. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 68% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the New York Rangers, from trade rumors to trade reports heading into the deadline, we're going to have all the coverage and all the fallout from today's 3 p.m. deadline. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. It is free after all, and you get to stay up to date with everything that's going on with the Rangers. But let's waste no more time. Let's get right into it. From Vince Mercogliano, a few New York Rangers notes with 5 hours to go until the deadline. At the time I'm recording this, it's going to be closer to 4 hours to go till the deadline. But the Rangers enter the trade deadline day with over $13.75 million in available cap space that they can not only bring in other players if they want to, younger talent, but they can also weaponize this cap space to take on some assets as well to help other teams, which I think is a very valuable asset as we head towards the deadline. The Rangers can come in and be a third team at any given deal to kind of retain salary and whatnot to get some more assets out of it, which I think is some tidy work from Chris Drury. And that is according to Puckpedia as well. And they can massage that number even higher. So they are a strong candidate to broker other deals and add other draft picks in the restock process. So they have a lot going on right now. And this is some other notes from Vince as well. They also enter the day with 8 healthy defensemen on the roster, plus Adam Fox on IR, which I think is pretty good work there. Zach Jones, obviously, up with the team now. Calvin DeHaan, who they just acquired in a trade last week. So lots of guys that are healthy on the blue line. They don't need to carry that many, so figuring something shifts here. Maybe somebody's coming out the door, in a couple hours. Could one of them be outgoing in a trade? Zach Jones has been rumored in trade rumors for the last week or 2 weeks at this point. He has been shopped for a while. Maybe even they consider, flipping Calvin DeHaan as a rental, just trade and flip. They used him for about a week and trade him for some type of asset. Now, we also have an update on JJ Peterka. I made a video on this last night, and there's been, I wouldn't even call them rumblings. Like, they're full on rumors, somewhat reports from Frank Saravalli as well. I know everyone is asking about JJ Peterka, but if there's something going on here, it's pretty well hidden. I don't have anything firm to report. The only thing I can say is that Buffalo is a team the New York Rangers has had trouble making deals with in recent years, and this would require some big concessions involving multiple NHL pieces. It would definitely come as a surprise. So it's looking less and less likely to some insiders like Vince Mercogliano. And also we, went over a couple other reports yesterday. Arthur Staple does not believe that this is going to happen. He hasn't heard anything either. This is from, this did come from some reputable sources, but there are some conflicting reports like this from Vince and obviously yesterday from Arthur Staple. So take everything with a grain of salt right now. We don't actually know what the Rangers are planning ahead of the deadline at this point. But we do have an idea that they are going to make maybe 1 or 2 more moves. And could it include Chris Kreider? Here's the latest on Chris Kreider as well. What's up with Chris Kreider? Signs continue to point towards a summer trade making more sense and netting a higher value, which I think is true as well because of the injury. If he has some time to nurse that injury, he might actually have some more trade value. But the door is open if some team swoops in today and decides to offer up some assets in return for Chris Kreider. Hang tight, everyone. Answers are coming soon. So it's going to get pretty exciting. And per Frank Saravalli, updated target list for the New York Rangers, their number 15, I should say, right wing Buffalo Sabres. He is playing top line left wing minutes for the Buffalo Sabres. Again, he's 23. Since I made that video last night, he now has 51 points in 59 games. He's almost a point a game player on the Buffalo Sabres. Very impressive stuff. He's still an RFA. He only makes $800,000, so you have him with some team control there, and you can sign him to a contract extension. And again, he hit the trade market like a wrecking ball. He's, a first-line winger at 23 years old. He's still developing into a high-end player. Sources say any team calling Buffalo has been met with resistance on Peterka, but the volume of calls has increased. The amount of chatter around the league is growing louder, and it exploded over the weekend. So last weekend, this started to pick up, and the rumors only really came out last night that, the Rangers would be interested in JJ Peterka. And I think they should be interested in JJ Peterka. He's a great young player and would certainly help turn this team around. He's, if you were to put him with even JT Miller maybe on that second line or something. They could figure out the line combinations, but he'd be a really, really good player for the Rangers to add. He has significant value. He's a pending RFA who will need a new contract. And oh, by the way, he will potentially be an offer sheet target this summer. Keep an eye on the New York Rangers. And multiple other sources and reporters have also said that this is going to be the summer of the offer sheet, which I think is kind of exciting if you think about it that way. So that could be another avenue for the Rangers as well, maybe waiting for the summer for a player like this. But this could still go down ahead of today's 3 p.m. deadline, which I think is exciting. And sources say any team calling on Buffalo has been met with resistance on Peterka, but the volume of calls has increased. The amount of chatter around the league is growing louder, and it exploded over the weekend. So keep an eye on the New York Rangers in terms of JJ Peterka. And, we talked about JJ Peterka in a video yesterday, but for those of you who aren't familiar with this game, he is a phenomenal 5-on-5 player. Like I mentioned, he's almost a point-a-game player on the Buffalo Sabres. He has 51 points in 59 games so far this season, which is phenomenal. He's continuously gotten better in his NHL career. Every single year, he's been progressing very well in an organization where it's very hard to progress, and it seems like they're always rebuilding every 2 years. So this is from a Sabres fan, so keep that in mind. But I'm not for trading JJ Peterka, but he leads the NHL in 5-on-5 on ice shooting percentage. So there's a decent amount of puck luck in his numbers. His value right now is at its peak, so keep that in mind as well. If the Rangers were to acquire him in a trade, he's probably worth the most he ever has been in his NHL career so far. So maybe it is something that they wait till the summer to offer sheet him. But I'm sure it's something that Chris Drury is definitely doing his due diligence on today and kicking tires on. That is for sure. And this is from Anthony LaRocco. In terms of what might come back the other way in a JJ Peterka trade, we talked about it in a previous video as well a little bit on the New York Rangers' pursuit of JJ Peterka. The Sabres have the longest playoff drought in all of pro sports, and they have been in a rebuild like we were talking about forever at this point, since like 2011. They aren't going to want picks or prospects. They are likely going to need one of Lafreniere or Cooley in the deal to move him. So obviously, a little bit of bias myself. I have Cooley's jersey over my shoulder. I do not want to trade Will Cooley. I think I'd be more open at this point in time to trading Alexis Lafreniere. There's also been rumors of Braden Schneider included in that trade. That makes absolutely no sense to me. There's no world where you should be trading Braden Schneider for anybody. If you weren't going to trade him for JT Miller, certainly don't trade him for JJ Peterka at this point. So Peterka is 23 years old, coming off a 28-goal, 50-point season last year, and he's absolutely going to smash his career high this season. Already has 51 points this season. So you have to give to get in this league, that is for sure, but it would be a great nab. But, would you be comfortable with giving up Alexis Lafreniere in a trade? It's going to be very interesting to see, if they pull the trigger on a trade like this. And if you take a look at the Rangers lineup, he would fit seamlessly in that left wing position on this team. Even if you were to play right wing, maybe you move off Zibanejad this summer as well and completely retool the team. That's something we've been talking about. And I know a lot of people are going to bring up the no movement clause. You can make it happen. Jacob Trouba had a no movement clause, right? Like Barclay Goodrow did as well. So you can certainly make it happen. Chris Drury has not shied away from that. So, he'd fit in seamlessly on this team. I think maybe you shift Cooley down. Othman can maybe go to the fourth line. Maybe you move Berard over. Could be very interesting to see, but they are definitely retooling on the fly and adding younger talent. I am all for it, but I want to hear what you have to say in the comments. What do you think about potentially moving off of Chris Kreider at this year's trade deadline or the summer? What would you prefer? Because I do believe his time as a Ranger may be coming to an end this season. It could be his last season as a Ranger. And let me know what you think about JJ Peterka. I think it's a great target for the New York Rangers and somebody that if they're not going to pull the trigger on at this deadline, they certainly need to look at an offer sheet during the summer because they have the cap space to do it. It's going to get very interesting. So let me know what you think in the comments. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.